Have you ever grown squash plants that have never produced fruit or that suffered from pest and disease issues? Well, if so, you are not alone. Squash are said to be one of the most easy vegetables to grow out in the garden, and while I pretty much believe that is true, that doesn't mean they don't come with issues. But the one thing that every gardener can do that will help prevent a lot of these issues is to prune your squash plants. Pruning your squash plants gives the plants more air circulation, which helps prevent powdery mildew and pest infestations, and it also helps the pollinators more easily find the flowers so that you have better pollination and more fruit. So the first thing I want to show you is that I have my zucchini plants right here in this bed, and they're pretty spaced out. And I did this purposely so that I would give them plenty of room, and just right from the start they would have plenty of air circulation and space. But you could plant them closer together if you plan on pruning and staying on top of it. So the first thing is that these bottom leaves that are touching the soil can all be pruned. And you can see right here, this leaf compared to these upper ones already has some issues. And it's just because it's touching the soil, and the leaves that are touching the soil are always gonna be the ones that are most prone to disease and issues. So all of these bottom layer of leaves on all of the plants can all be pruned off. And then another thing, which I don't have the issue here, but if your plants are closer together and the big leaves start overlapping, then you want to prune off whatever leaf is overlapping with the plant next to it. So now after pruning that bottom layer of leaves, you can see there's plenty of air circulation and the plant is growing more upwards. So as the season goes on, you can continue pruning off these bottom layers of leaves. And now the pollinators can actually find that flower. If that flower is completely hidden by leaves, it makes it really hard for the pollinators to get in there and pollinate. And so now that the plant is opened up, you can see I already have quite a few healthy squash growing. And down here on this side, I actually have one that is not growing well. And you can see it's because it's hidden. And it likely did not get pollinated. So this squash started forming, it didn't get pollinated well, so it's just kind of rotting on the plant. Right here is a good view of the male flower, which right now it's closed up because it's a little bit later in the morning. They're usually opened up early on, but the male flowers grow just directly off the stem, and then they will open up, and then the female flowers are the ones that have the fruit. So over here you can see there's little tiny fruits and then the blossom that's going to eventually form, and that's going to be a zucchini. This is one that got pollinated well and it's already forming a good zucchini. But then that one right down here did not get pollinated well, so it's just rotting on the vine. So be sure to put pruning your squash plants on your list of to-dos. You can always prune that bottom layer of leaves that's touching the soil, then go through and prune off any leaves that can just open up the plant to have better air circulation, and then always prune off those overlapping leaves if you have plants that are close together. And remember that squash are not the only plant that should be pruned out in the garden. You should also prune your cucumber plants, and if you head to this video right here, I show you the step-by-step process of how to do so. So I will see you there.